This show is brought to you in part by viewers like you who joined a Patreon or become YouTube members. Thank you. And if you could, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Browns-focused content.
I don't know if you guys feel it, but this is something that I have felt since the end of the draft and since we've gotten into organized team activities. And I'm being cautious when I say this because I don't want you guys to get the wrong idea of what I think the win-loss record will be, because I feel this. I still think the Browns are likely a under 500 team. But I really do feel like the team has good energy around it. Like, this draft class seems like it has really good vibes. The team seems like they have a really good energy about themselves right now. Now, again, good vibes, good energy does not equate, oh my God, I think the Browns are going to shock the world, right? Like, that's just, I'm just observing that the vibes seem good and the energy is good. And that is something positive that I have noticed about this Cleveland Browns team. And I think there's a lot of reason why the vibes for the draft class in particular are much better, and also just for the team in total, right? One of the reasons I think the energy is going to be a lot better about this team right now is it's the first post-Watson year. Now, Watson's still technically on the roster, still in the building, but the burden of Deshaun Watson is related to Deshaun Watson being your starting quarterback. What is ultimately clear right now, or extremely clear right now, is that Deshaun Watson is not your starting quarterback, that you are not going to start Deshaun Watson this year. And that feels like a legitimate burden that has been lifted from this team. We talked about it last year where the vibes just felt weird with the Cleveland Browns, right? And then the season started and those vibes were on display. And a lot of that was this team really did not believe in the Watson experiment anymore. And the Browns were still trying to make it happen. And it wasn't until Watson left that the vibes got any better. And even then, like, the vibes weren't great because, you know, you put in Jameis. Kevin don't really like Jameis, so he don't call the plays anymore. It was strange, right? They switched the offense for Deshaun. That wasn't a change that they could make mid-season. The vibes were off. They fired the offensive line coach early. Like, the vibes were just bad last year. The vibes were bad, and it was indicative of some dynamics in the locker room not really being functional, and that being obvious early on in the process. Right now, it feels a lot different, right? They made some changes, new offensive line coach, new offensive coordinator. They're going back to the old philosophy on offense. Deshaun Watson's not the starter. They have Joe Flacco, a couple of rookies, Kenny Pickett in to play quarterback, which, sad as it is to say, it is an upgrade from Deshaun Watson. Regardless of who it is that plays, I believe that they would be an upgrade to Deshaun Watson, even Dylan Gabriel, right? Like, they have completely swapped out that quarterback room. They've changed the offense. They've changed the offensive line coach, which I think was an underrated element to a lot of the dysfunction that happened with the Cleveland Browns last year. Like, they feel a lot more at peace. They feel like they are what they are supposed to be, which is a Cleveland Browns, Kevin Stefanski run football team, which is last year. They felt like they were this weird team trying to give it a go with a superstar quarterback who hasn't been good in 5 years. So that vibe, right, alone, just not having the burden of playing Deshaun Watson, I think has done numbers for the vibes in Berea. On top of some other people not being here too, right? Ken Dorsey, whatever reason, the vibes feel a lot better without him and with Tommy Rees at the offensive coordinator position early on. We'll see how that holds up. New offensive line coach, they seem to like him more than the guy that they had last year. The offensive line seems to be more in agreement with what they're being asked to do than they were last year. Like, there's a lot of stuff that weighed on that 2024 season that is not weighing on this team, and you can just see it when you see these guys interact. Last year, like, OTAs, nobody was like trying to hang out. Nobody, like, Wyatt Teller did a seafood boil. like in Berea, right? He did a seafood boil. Like he cooked some crab, oh, not some crab, but he cooked some crawfish, some corn, like some potatoes. He did a whole damn seafood. I don't know if you've done a seafood boil before, but that is not a short thing to prepare. Like that takes a long time to prepare. You got to want to do it. You got to like the people that you're doing the seafood boil for, right? And like that shit that wasn't happening last year. Nobody felt cool enough in Berea to be like, yeah, I'm gonna do a seafood boil. Y'all come down, right? It felt like everybody was there for work, and once work was over, we going home, right? That was very much the vibe of Berea. Nobody wanted to be there longer than they had to, which that's not what I'm seeing now when you get these clips from the Browns social media. And again, it's the Browns social media. You know, you're talking about state-run media at that point, right? It's all propaganda. But the absence of that kind of content last year spoke louder, right, than anything. And that's what I'm referring to. So the fact that there are people who want to be in the building, the fact that these guys seem to want to be around each other more than they wanted to be around each other at this point last year, all of that stuff is good, and why I think the Browns' vibes are much better. I also think the vibes are much better because of this rookie class. One, it's the first rookie class that the Cleveland Browns have truly had in like 4 years, right? They have not had a first-round pick, and not, I think the earliest pick in this whole time, right, for the Watson trade was Mike Hall, who was pick 55, right? So they haven't had a top 40 pick in the building in like 3 years. They got three top 40 picks in the building, which I don't think that is a mistake, right? The Browns lost 3 years of top 40 picks when they traded for Deshaun Watson. And in the first year, they have top 40 picks. They have 3 top 40 picks plus 2 first-round picks next year. You see what they're doing there? That's kind of smart, right? They're recouping. Okay, we didn't get top 40 talent the last 3 years. We already recouped 3 years of top 40 talent. And next year, you will have 2 more top 40 players, maybe 3 more top 40 players because you have a second round pick. And then boom, in 2 years, you would have accumulated 6 top 40 picks, which would basically bring you back and then plus what you were in the deficit for over the total of the Watson trade. It's kind of what the Browns are doing. That's why what they're doing makes a lot of sense to especially like the analytics focused people. So they haven't had top 40 picks in the building a while. Now they have 3 of them. It seems like the Browns made a concerted effort, knowing the importance of this draft class, to bring in people who are positive influences to the Browns culture, right? They did not want to bring in guys who would be standoffish or assholes, right? Like that's probably a huge part of the reason they didn't go after Luther Burden, right, in the draft, because Luther Burden has a bit of a reputation that follows him. But that's why the Browns drafted the way they did, right? They bring in Mason Graham. Mason Graham has a tremendous reputation amongst his peers. Quincy Jenkins, tremendous reputation amongst his peers, very well spoken. All of that stuff is true with him. Carson Schlesinger, same kind of deal there, right? Dylan Sampson seems like a energetic, fun, youthful young man. I felt old as that. That is the oldest I've ever sounded. Oh my God. Oh, my bad. I sounded so old. I am 30 now. Harold Faden Jr. and then Shedeur Sanders, who, look, he's going to bring in a lot of attention. There's a lot of people who want to support Shedeur Sanders. There's a lot of people who don't want to support Shedeur Sanders. And a lot of that shit really has to do with how people feel about Deion. And a lot of how people feel about Deion has to do with other shit, right? Like, if you look at what Deion has, his personality, what he's done off the field, he's never been in trouble. He's never been a troublemaker. He's been outspoken, or at least he's been willing to have a big personality, but he's never been like caught up with actual legal trouble. And the same is true with Shador. Shador is not going to be in actual trouble, right? The trouble Shador is going to be in is people don't like his wristwatch celebration, or people don't like that he dropped the mixtape or something, or people don't like how much jewelry he be wearing. There's not real like issues with Shador Sanders. It's more or less people who don't care about football having these aesthetic conversations about Shador Sanders. But the guy himself, he seems to work very hard. He seems to be a very good teammate. And he seems to be very likable to his peers. It seems like people tend to gravitate towards him, like a lot of players have a similar personality. And it seems like that's something that they were going for in this draft class. And you can kind of see it when you see how well these guys gel in and fit in, and how they're avoiding answering questions in a controversial way. Dylan Gabriel, another guy who known for being a great teammate, right? Already handling some of these silly questions he's getting very well, right? Like the Browns brought in what they felt like to be mature people to fit in and fill in the foundations of this roster. So that is another reason I think the vibes are much better in Berea. Another reason, they're relieved from these expectations they've been dealing with the last few years, right? Nobody is going in and picking the Cleveland Browns even as a dark horse Super Bowl contender. Nobody's going in and really picking the Cleveland Browns to make the playoffs, right? Which means for the first time in a long time, this team can simply exist and be what they are and not have to worry about living up to what other people think that they should be. And that is freeing in a way. Now, you obviously want to earn your way back to having serious expectations, right? You can't just live expectation free your whole life. But you want to get to a place where you can earn some expectations about you. And hopefully that means getting a quarterback within the next few years. But that's where you want to be at. But right now, it is a relief to have to deal with all the expectations that came from trading Deshaun Watson, well, trading for Deshaun and trading Baker Mayfield and all of this stuff. Now you can just reset. It's over. The Deshaun Watson thing failed. Baker Mayfield thing didn't work out our way. That looks like a horrible look for the Cleveland Browns. It's over though. Like it's a wrap. It's ancient history at this point. So let's rebuild and let's relieve ourselves of the expectations of that era, and let's just move forward, right? I think that's the energy going on there too. And yes, this Cleveland Browns team is rebuilding, but it's different than rebuilds of Cleveland Browns past. We're not replacing a new coach. We're not replacing a general manager. We're not replacing 55% of the roster, right? We're bringing in a draft class into a locker room with a lot of established veterans, and established position coaches who have been here a long time, like continuity. We're surrounding these rookies with continuity, and we're putting them in roles that we know can be fulfilled with the plan that the Browns have offensively and defensively. Jim Schwartz knows what he's looking for when it comes for a defense. Andrew Berry knows what Jim Schwartz is looking for, right? They've worked together long enough to have a good understanding of what works in Jim Schwartz's system. The same thing is true with Kevin Stefanski and Andrew Berry. Like, there is continuity here that gives you a better chance on these rookies and young players actually developing than in years past, because you have real infrastructure in this building. You have real veteran players in this building. And when I say real veteran players, I mean players who are veterans because they have played on the Browns for a long time, right? Not just because they've been on a bunch of different teams, but they played on the Browns. They care about the Browns. They care about being a Cleveland Brown. It's part of why I want them to bring back Nick Chubb. They're not going to do that. It is what it is, but still, even without Nick Chubb, you have a lot of that in the building, right? David Njoku is a legitimate veteran. He's only played for the Cleveland Browns. The same thing as Joe Bitonio. Same thing as Myles Garrett, right? Denzel Ward. Like, you have some legitimate veteran Cleveland Brown guys, Kevin Stefanski guys, right? Like, if Jason Tarver gets a job somewhere else, right, he's a Kevin guy now, right? If Kevin got fired next year and brought over, David Njoku, well, that's a Kevin Stefanski guy, right? Like, that is what exists in the building right now. And that does help you develop young players. Also, I think the front office did a good job of avoiding the potential offseason drama. The vibes could be awful right now because we could be in the same place Cincinnati is, where we're debating on television re-signing one of our best players, if not our best player on defense, right? The Browns avoided that situation with Myles Garrett. They got him the contract he wanted. They were able to get him convinced on board with what the Browns' plan is going forward. And now that's not even a blip on the radar. We're not even thinking about it. We're not talking about, is Myles Garrett going to show up the OTAs? We're pretty much drama-free right now. The only drama the team has is like people worried about drama happening with Shedeur Sanders. And again, a lot of Shedeur Sanders drama, not really actual tangible drama. It's drama that people create between people who love Shedeur and people who don't love Shedeur, and they create drama within themselves and then project that onto the team. That is not real drama. That drama is not going to show itself up on the team. That drama is just going to show itself up on the people who cover the team. Not really something that affects them, right? You got to separate those two. And even then, Shedeur don't get in trouble, and I hope he continues to not get in trouble. And my thing with the whole drama with him is like, hey man, as long as he's like not in actual trouble, not saying shit that's gonna actually like mess up with the locker room, not trying to undermine the leadership of the team, which he has not even come close to doing and has no history of trying to do, then I don't care about anything else surrounding him or how people feel about it. Like it's not affecting the team. It shouldn't affect the team. It's just affecting how you feel about him, and that's not relevant, right? So there's no real drama with this team, right? Deshaun Watson, he's going to try to help out where he can. I had made a whole video about that. That's either coming up or that's already happened, right? But that's not real drama. The quarterback competition, it's not drama. It's just a competition, right? Like they don't have that surrounding them. And look, what I think this adds up to is that this team is not going to be great. They probably won't have the consistency on offense to be great, right? I've brought that up multiple times. I think they have the potential to be very inconsistent on offense, which means that they're probably going to be like a 6-win team or a 7-win team, right? They're probably going to be under 500. But that, just because the team won't be great, does not mean that this team won't be fun. And I think that's something we haven't had since 2023. In the later half of 2023 was a fun football team, right? And is fun a long-term substitute for great? No. But for a year, you would love to be fun versus to be what you were last year, which was just an absolute miserable drag of a football team to watch. There's going to be a lot to kind of entertain you during the season. It's not going to be win-loss oriented, right? You're going to want to see how your number 5 pick looks, how Quincy Junkins looks, how the quarterbacks look, right? Like there's going to be stuff to keep you engaged throughout the year and make it so that you might not leave the season with the win-loss record that you would hope for, but maybe you leave the season with a sense of hope for the future or a sense of optimism that you have not gotten the last couple of years. And I think there is value in that. Is it as good as winning? No, but there's value in it, right? So I wouldn't act like that's nothing. So I feel a lot better so far about the Cleveland Browns than I anticipated me feeling about the Browns. We'll see where we are when camp happens, when this team actually starts to put rubber to the road, right? Yeah, when this team actually starts putting rubber to the road, right? Because right now, they in the parking lot, they ain't really doing shit. But let's see what they look like when they start putting rubber to the road. But as far as now goes, compared to where it was last year, I feel a lot better about where they are, what the plan is going forward, and this team's ability to be able to bounce back from what was an awful season last year. But y'all let me know what you think in the comment section down below. Have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.